Hi, everybody. It's Captain Canadad. Today, I'm reaching out to a couple of neighbors, pretty much of mine. They run their own podcast on Apple Podcasts. Is it, guys?
Everywhere you can find podcasts, Spotify,
Everywhere you
Apple
can find it.
Podcasts, Google.
Okay. Well, I found you guys through Johnathan, your sister, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she suggested that I reach out to you. So the podcast name is Zoned Out. Check it out, guys. It's not you two because you've already checked it out, but have a look at it and get to know these two guys. They're interesting, and some of the stuff they talk about, mind blown. But introduce yourself, fellas. Why don't we start to my left? That would be you, Quinn.
Oh, sorry. You're on my left, so I'm looking at it like, oh, there's nothing to the left. That's all right. I'm Quinn. I go to school at Western Ontario for physics and currently enjoying online semesters, using Zoom a lot. And that's basically my life right now.
And you do the podcast.
And I do the podcast.
Right. Okay, Johnathan, you're up, buddy.
I am studying biology at Brock University in St. Catharines, and I am also doing the podcast. And like Quinn said, online school involves lots of Zoom meetings, not too many like actually live events in my classes at least, but I mean, there are some benefits and there's some drawbacks to having online school, but I think overall it would have been much better to do things in person. I missed out on lots of labs and like practical experience.
Yeah.
I made a list of all the things I missed out on earlier, and it was I never really thought about it, but it's a long list. So, but I'll catch up.
But just think about it like this. I mean, you mentioned the fact that you made a list, right?
Yeah.
Without the extra time that being at home has given you, you wouldn't have been able to make lists. Just a thought.
Sure.
All right,
Sure.
we'll go with it. Yeah. So your podcast, and again, it's called Zoned Out. Tell me a bit about it. You can both speak about it. I mean, I think you can talk over each other on this.
Okay, when you give, yeah.
Zoned Out is, I like the description that we have on our podcast. If you go and actually read the description, which I feel like little people do, but if you do read it, it just says that it's two undergrads messing around, and me and Johnathan are quite literally messing around on the podcast. But I think that the banter that me and Johnathan get into on the podcast is not ordinary banter that you would expect, because we're just talking about weird things, and by weird things I mostly mean things that have to deal with a little bit of philosophy or psychology. But even though we know very little about those subjects, we kind of delve into some interesting topics that have to deal with those subjects.
Okay.
And not only that, but we have a little bit of conversation that has to deal with the science world and stuff like that, because we're both learning about things like that. So we have things that we think about that pertain to the sciences and odd, bizarre phenomena. So when me and Johnathan get talking, it's usually pretty odd and pretty spacey. So usually the topics are a long range just of many different things that we talk about, so I can't spit out one thing that kind of describes it all.
Okay, well, your latest episode, which was released in December, by the way, when are you planning on doing a new one?
We have two recorded. They just need to be edited, so
excellent.
Coming soon.
Excellent. Okay, well, the one I was watching, and I unfortunately didn't get to do all of it, but you were talking about a movie called Interstellar.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, from my opinion, you were discussing the how to say this, moral or ethical dilemma, of would you leave the planet with everything behind it to go and plant a seed on another planet so that we could repopulate? And I got to say, honestly, screw humanity. I'd stay right where I am. There's no way I'm going anywhere. So I don't know. I didn't get to whether or not you guys answered that, but where would you feel on that?
Go ahead, Jonathan.
Well, I think you can make a really strong argument for both sides, especially with the situation that like what Matthew McConaughey's character was in, with like, you know, abandoning his family and leaving them behind, or, you know, traveling to some distant planet that might not even work. But I mean, for me, I don't have a family. I mean, I do have a family, but I don't have, like, you know,
Wife and
children.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have children. So it's not exactly the same, but
I'm going to throw a word out there and you tell me if it sticks. Adios.
You could.
On one hand, I think it'd be really fun to explore like space and but on the other hand, just being isolated for that long might not be very enjoyable. And does humanity deserve a second chance like that?
Man, that's morbid, yo. Just gonna drop the bomb on everybody.
Hey, the question needs to be asked. I'm not saying whether or not we do or don't. I'm just saying, like,
that's true. I mean,
any one of us is probably very, very biased towards, you know, like, someone listening might think, like, or someone watching might think, it's absurd to think anything other than humanity obviously deserves to.
But we're humans talking about whether or not humans should live. So, you know, a little bit of a biased opinion. I see you.
I think it would depend on the exact situation whether or not what I would decide, but I'm leaning towards.
I'll send you a postcard.
Postcard from Mars?
Yeah.
Probably be a pretty nice postcard, man.
Imagine the stamp.
Ooh, the stamp? The stamp might be nice.
It would.
That'd be a collector.
That would be that would be an addition to a collector's ensemble.
Okay, I think I'm leaning, as of right now, I'm leaning towards go to space. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Quinn?
Oh, man, I don't know. I mean, I think that it's interesting that you gave us your perspective on it, because your perspective coming from an individual who has a child is so much different from me and Jonathan. I think that something that my parents had tried to teach me, like, only really once or twice, but I remember my parents saying something along the lines of, you don't know what it feels like from my perspective to have a child, to know what it feels like to have this bond of something that you've created and wanting to protect that. And them explaining it to me like that is the best way that I can describe it, because I obviously don't know what it feels like. So maybe you resonate more with those words than I, but your perspective on it is interesting, because for me, I'm obviously removed from that. Just thinking about, okay, if I want to go to Mars, I don't see anything being too overwhelmingly an obstacle and getting in the way of that decision. Right. So I would consider going to Mars, but I just want more specifics. Who am I going with? What's my job? What am I going to be doing? How long is it going to take? Like, I want all these details before I make a decision. I think that I'd want somebody to talk to. If I had a job that was cool, that I was interested in, I don't know, maybe if I was a botanist, I don't know.
No, you're going to open a variety store.
Yeah, if I was opening a variety store, that sounds kind of cool, but I need, like, where are the supplies coming from? Where's my profit margin?
Where's your customers? There's nobody on there but you.
Where's my customers? The Martians. Kevin, the Martians, come on.
Well, yeah, but
they're going to be lining up to buy everything I got, all the Earth. It's going to be like tourism all over again.
You're going to be selling dirt. You're going to be selling dirt.
They'll be coming up to the ground saying, "Oh, do you have peanut butter cups? I used to eat those when you guys lived here before." No, grape soda. Do you have grape soda?
I'll just be selling anything and everything that is unique and highly available on Earth that is not on Mars.
You know, they have those shops. It's like the British Isles shop. You know, and they sell pies and stuff from England and candy from England, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You could have.
I don't even know that.
The Earth shop.
The Earth shop.
Right, where you just sell stuff from Earth. You could have a gas station that nobody would buy gas at.
The Martians just drink the gas, like it doesn't affect them, like they're able to drink it, and the
Right.
only reason they do is just to seem like humans. They're like, it's a
No.
cool thing to do.
No, it's because they light their farts and get like travel with it.
They have some pretty powerful blue angels.
That's right. Yeah. Flatulence to die for or from. So
we can market that.
you're welcome. So what are some of the other topics that you have talked about? Like, obviously, when you start talking to people, you had, I think his name was it Brad in that
Brennan.
episode? Brennan?
Brennan, yeah.
Brennan, okay. You went into that with that on your mind, but what other kind of, like, give me an example of another topic that you've talked about at great length in one of your podcasts.
Ooh, I got one that's just a question for you, Kevin.
Go for it.
Do you believe in free will?
I did when, okay. I believe in free will when you're a child. But
That's interesting.
yeah, well, we were talking about it last night, my wife and I. We have a puppy, a
Oh.
brand new puppy. She's 10
Last night?
Yeah.
It's fate,
It's fate, synchronicity.
which points towards no free will, but
Yeah. No, well, she's 10 weeks old, this puppy. And
Aw.
she runs all over us, like literally over us. She's a teacup Chihuahua puppy. And there is nothing that is off limits to her. We have 2 cats. She tries to eat the cat's food. We have a bowl of grapes. She tries to eat the grapes. Now, 2 grapes apparently is deadly to
Really?
to a puppy, Chihuahua puppy. Yeah.
What in grapes is so deadly?
they don't know, I don't think.
Probably because if she touches them, I'll kill her. But I think as a child, you don't have the concept of fear. Okay, until you've experienced something that you need to be afraid of,
Okay.
you run around like you're bulletproof, like nothing can harm you. And it's through learning, first of all, by your mistakes, and giving you like lessons, life lessons from parents, from people that have been through the bad shit that can make you afraid and lose your idea of freedom, that you develop a lack of freedom.
Okay, yeah. I see.
What do you think of that?
I like
I
that.
think it's really cool to think of it like that.
Yeah.
I hadn't really considered that, like the more inhibitions that you come to like to build, the less free will you have, because it's just like a block, something that's
Yeah.
stopping you from doing that thing that you would have been doing otherwise.
Well, it's a mental block, and it's also a societal block. I mean, when you're a kid, I don't know how many kids I've known throughout my life that when they were, or people I've known, sorry, that when they were younger, they would go into a store and just take something because they wanted it. You can't do that, right? You can't. I mean, you can, but if you get caught, there's repercussions from it. But as a kid, you just think, "Oh, I want that." I'll tell you something. When Zellers, you remember Zellers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. We went into Zellers in Burlington, and we came out, and my daughter was in a stroller. She was like a year, maybe a year and a half, something like that. She was in a stroller, and I looked down because it had the canopy over it, right? So I couldn't see into it. But before we were going outside, it was cold, so we were going to tuck her into her blanket and stuff and make sure she was all comfy and cozy. And she had this friggin' Tickle Me Ernie thing on her lap. And I'm like, where the hell did you get this? So we quickly ran to the car,
Get away, start the car.
Yeah, it started like the IKEA commercial, right?
Yes.
Start the car. But yeah, I mean, she just took it because she liked it. She liked the look of it. It was brightly packaged and colorful, and she didn't understand that you have to pay for that. So, yeah.
I mean, what you said about free will, I feel like could be reversed, though.
Explain.
I mean, I think that although most children as I see them inside of my kind of like stereotypical view on how life is supposed to go about. Most children don't have fear like that when they're young. But I think that a lot of people's circumstances could call for a young child having a lot of fear at a young age, right? I mean,
but it's a different kind of fear. Their
one that's
fears,
less experienced.
well, no, it's different reasons for their fear. Their fear is like a separation, right? They don't want to be alone. They away from their nest kind of thing, their parents.
Okay.
When you take a child to daycare or school for the first day, I haven't seen one that isn't shitting bricks before they get in there, because they're terrified of the concept of not being in their bubble, to use a term from nowadays. But once they get in there and they see all the toys and people to play with, it's a different story, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking about scenarios where like there's no stereotypical like parent or school or anything. Like it's a completely distraught scenario, and
Such as what?
such as any scenario of like orphanage, living on streets, poverty, anything like that.
But again, I go to, and at least, I mean, this is just my opinion, right? It's not carved in stone or anything, but I would say that unless they've been exposed to it, they don't know what that is. Orphanage, if a child is born and is an unwanted child, they go to an orphanage or for adoption or whatever. But they're born into it. So do they have a fear of it? Because that's the norm to them, you know?
Yeah, I meant more like other things on top of that too, just creating fear in life, like not being able to eat, or assuming that they're, because not everybody has all the things that we assume come with being alive, like having shelter, having clothes, having food, right?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about it, like if somebody had an experience where at a young age they were exposed to like abuse a lot, and that kind of had this fear that was carried upon them, that even some people who live out their entire lives don't experience certain fears that have to deal with very serious situations that could occur when you're a child. And if you were to live out a life like that, it could come to a point when you're older that now that let's say you've broken away from a scenario of hardship, then maybe when you're older, you can appreciate that you have a moment inside of the present time that's not distraught or not filled with a bunch of things you have to be afraid of if you were somehow escaped that scenario. And then you could appreciate what you have more. And then in that sense, maybe your free will has kind of like developed into, almost from my perspective, more free will, because you're thinking to yourself, I don't have to live under this scary like idea. But the only reason I'm bringing out like this flip is just to show that the perspective can happen so many different ways other than that too.
Yeah. But again, well, not again, but I mean, okay, so I grew up in England. I had a friend over there, and when he was growing up as a child, he was abused, not sexually necessarily, but physically. Like, you know, you get the back of my hand kind of thing. That was the way it went over there when you were a kid. And he grew up very much that's how life is, right? That's how you treat your kids. That's how you treat your family. That's how you treat people. So I guess that it would depend on how you're brought up and what you see, because you learn a hell of a lot from your parents and your home life, because for the most part, that's life for kids, right? We went through some hardships, and we ended up in a bad way financially, right around the time of the recession, the most recent recession. And I would look at my wife and I would say, you know, I don't really, this doesn't really affect me, because I mean, we don't have anything anyway. So it's not like we're gasping and we're going to lose anything because we're in this big recession. It's just, we don't have money anyway. So we're used to it, kind of thing. But you learn from your life as you grow, right? I mean, I'm sure you guys
learned a little.
yeah, maybe a couple
So
of
far,
things.
we picked up a few things so far, like The basics. We got the
Yeah.
basics.
Like dress. What is that shirt you got going on there? Let me see that.
This shirt?
Well, yeah. What
It's
is that?
just camping and skiing in the snow
That's interesting.
made into a print.
Did you make it yourself?
No, I did not make it myself. It comes from, I think, Old Navy. I got it for Christmas.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a completely interesting pattern on it.
I was going to say on free will, though,
Yes.
based on what you and Quinn both talked about, you could say that any sort of experience that anyone has that has a lasting effect on them limits their free will, because it will could potentially permanently affect their decision making for the rest of their life.
Exactly.
And you could go further and say, well, that pretty much applies to everything, and that we have no free will at all.
But would you not agree that in order to have lost your free will, you have to have had it at one point?
Well, you wouldn't be losing it in that case. You would just have never had it. I'm saying, like, that logic, you could say that logic applies to everything, even the conditions under which you're conceived, and thereby it never existed.
It's an interesting thought.
Anyway, I was also going to say that what you said about children having more free will because they haven't learned those like inhibitions yet.
Boundaries.
You could say that you can't really that children would have less free will than an adult, because until you learn how to think rationally, until you learn the potential consequences of your actions, which children necessarily haven't solidified yet, that you're just acting like impulsively, and that's less of a free will situation than if you actually, consider all options and then decide. If you're making an informed decision, you might think that person's decision has more weight and has like more significance, and they actually like chose what they think is right, rather than just like, not having a sense of really morality and just choosing based on whatever their impulse is.
Yeah, cool. That's fair. That sun is coming through. It's very angelic. But
How do I wait, okay. I could.
well, there goes my free will.
That didn't fix it.
Why did you think opening it would help, Jonathan?
Because I thought maybe that it would make the whole room wait, what about this?
Where's he going?
He's gonna open them. What?
Yeah, that didn't help either. That's okay. We can still see you if you bring it down. It's just, I guess, as the day is progressing. Go more to your left, Jonathan. More to your left. No, you as well, physically. That's good. That's good right there. That's perfect. Excellent. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's good. Okay, so that's like an example of some of the stuff that you would talk about on your podcast, right?
Yes.
Now, you do podcasts, which I think is awesome. Good for you guys. It's good to get your voice out there. It's good to be heard. I've had it suggested that I start turning these into podcasts. I'm pretty sure that's because they just want to get rid of my ugly face off their screen. But
nah.
Yeah, well, you never know. But yeah, I don't know. It's something to consider for sure. What do podcasts present, would you say, that videos don't? Like, what is the advantage of doing a podcast over a video?
Okay. I will say that the experience of not having any sort of like visual stimulus and just the audio, it might make them really like focus on the words that are being said and nothing else, and feel like they're part of the discussion, and it might make like the thought-provoking aspect of like thinking about what we're talking about, that it might make that like.
Are you talking about the participants or the view or the listeners?
Yeah, the listeners. Yeah, the listeners.
Yep.
And it's it's in a way more convenient. There's things you lose not having like a visual representation and
Yeah.
like a video, but there's also like, you know, you can listen to it when you're driving, or you can listen to it when you're working, like in your earbuds, depending on where you work, and you can't really watch a video. So there's that. But what do you think, Quinn?
I mean, I was kind of thinking similarly, I guess. I mean, as far as my experience with listening to podcasts on my own goes, I just like to listen to podcasts, having earbuds in or whatnot, and doing something. And when it comes to a video that's on YouTube, I can't shut off my phone. You have to keep the video open and running and playing. Meanwhile, when it's just audio, you just have that turned on, throw your phone off. You could throw your phone wherever you want. As long as you're listening to it, then it'll just keep playing. And for me, I just find that nice just to have. Sometimes it's nice to just have somebody talking in my ear while I'm doing something. And usually what I'm doing has to be something I'm not thinking about. So Johnathan mentioned driving. I don't listen to podcasts while I drive, but I walk with podcasts, or I just like doing random craft stuff or random art stuff. Just listening to something while you're doing that is just nice. And a lot of times I would go against Johnathan. Johnathan said like sometimes you listen more to the words. I think when it's visual, you're more inclined to listen to what they have to say. If you're looking at it, if you're not looking at it, then you're probably not paying attention as much.
If you're not looking at it, you're kind of, how would you say that? Zoned out?
Zoned out, yeah. Bomb drops.
Okay, thanks for watching, everybody. We're done here today now.
Quit while you're ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but I mean, I think that I really like the visual things too. I think me and Johnathan are going to try and do stuff like that as well for our podcast as we progress and develop. But, you know, there's some things about I was going to say I go against Johnathan just because I think people can pay attention less if they have something just in their ear. Because for me, I'll listen to some part of a podcast and I'll be doing something. And then all of a sudden I'll realize, I'm still listening to them. In the last 10 minutes, I haven't even caught a thing that they've been saying.
Yeah.
And I got to go back. Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's fine. Because as long as you're just enjoying yourself and that podcast just puts you in a calm mood and you're just having a good time. Like for me, it's might be drawing something or writing out stuff. Then you know what, man, that's more than fine. And you can do that with a video one too. So,
well, I find that if I'm watching a video, and this might just be my age, but if I'm watching a video and I'm not watching it, like I'm doing something and just listening to the sounds that are on the video, the audio, then I don't absorb a single thing. Nothing.
If you're watching.
No, if I'm not watching it.
If you're not watching.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so like people who are auditory learners probably enjoy podcasts a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. So it might just be that you are deficit inside of the auditory learning, like category, but as far as visual learning, you excel. And then that might just be your bread and butter.
I'm not so sure that I learn or absorb that much on the other side either, to be honest. But, you know, again, that might be the age thing kicking in. I don't know. I don't know what the cutoff is for learning, but I might have reached it. So, yeah.
I don't think there's cutoff for learning. You can still pursue knowledge.
Yeah, well, you can chase it all day if you want, but if you're not grabbing onto it at some point, you kind of give up, right? I don't know. So you're at Western and you go to Brock. While you're doing these podcasts, do you only do them really when you're at home, when you can have the third party or yourselves together, or do you do it over, like I'm doing this with you now on Zoom? Microsoft, if you'd like to make a donation to my do you guys do it over Zoom, or how do you do it?
The past few episodes we've done at a distance virtually, so we both would be communicating just our voices or see each other, and then we both separately recording our audio, and then we mix it together later. But before that, we would be seeing each other because that is definitely superior,
ideal. Definitely
better experience to be seeing each other. When you're seeing each other in real time and having a conversation, it's different because you know you can see the other person's facial expression, and hand gestures and body language, and sort of like you might better understand what they're trying to say and how like their tone and what they mean than if you can just hear them or you can't really see them that well, or if the video is laggy or whatever. Which I think is another reason why having a video for a podcast that you've recorded and uploaded is better in a way, because there's some meaning that you're not necessarily conveying through your words, but you can pick up on with your body language or hand gestures or whatever.
Very good point. Very good point.
Honestly, like the whole online atmosphere for discussing anything, like discourse of all types, just takes a hit in comparison to real life, I think. And one of the major things is just cutting each other off or finding the room to speak, because inside of a room, when me and Johnathan are together, we usually get pretty animated, pretty like loud voices going on and competing for the kind of stage of speaking. And in doing so, when we're together, we're both saying things at a volume that's increasing because we're fighting for that. We're fighting for the microphone, fighting for the...
Settle down.
Yeah. So in the process of doing that, when you're in person, it's so much easier for someone to have that distinguished like throne, because all I have to do is start speaking to Johnathan, and if I take over, then he'll stop, and vice versa for the other way around. But online, my mic is the only feed going in, and the only way I'm going to hear you is if you like abruptly go in. But my voice, hearing my voice is coming from real life because I'm with myself, but your voice is coming through this digital thing. And so when people try and talk or just cut in or start their part of the conversation online, it sucks. Most of the time, it sucks. Or I found that when we first started doing things, it almost always sucked because it was just a difficult and awkward scenario to get moving.
Like the experience of talking sucked, but not the content. I don't think the content's
still good.
Yeah.
It was just more of a shaky ride.
Good save. Yeah, I was going to ask you, I'm glad you brought all that up, because I was going to ask you how, as a university student, I mean, my daughter's 14, she's in grade 9. It's really tough to learn, because I'm finding that the teachers still seem to want to teach as if they were doing it in class, but it's not the same. It's not the same. Like, she has one specific teacher who I won't name, but it's her art teacher. And I think
I want you to throw eggs at their house.
yeah. Toilet paper, eggs, flour. She says, don't leave a comment in the chat section because I'm not going to read it. And it's like, what? Why would you even suggest that to a student? Like, and then she had another one that was, and we had to remove her from that class. And she was saying, if you leave something in the chat, don't expect a response because I've got other things to worry about. So in class, if they have a question and they do this, you're going to say high five and run away, or what? Like, do you address their questions in class in person? It's difficult for her, but she's grade 9 stuff, so I can't imagine what it's like for university. Sciences are hard courses anyway, so my hat's off to both of you for doing that. But how do you find it? Johnathan, do you want to run with this first?
Sure. In terms of the theory, that's all fine. I'm still like, although it would probably be, it would definitely be more fun and more engaging to have it in person and have it and be sitting in the auditorium and be able to engage with the professor. But it's not like there's a huge deficit in terms of like what I'm actually learning and the stuff I'm absorbing. It's just like, me reading a book versus having the professor just verbally tell me. It's not, in terms of what I'm actually learning, is not that different, but how fun it is to learn it, that's different. And just for example, like my cell biology professor, we had a poll that we did where we would vote on the cutest pets of the students who all sent her photos of their pets, and whoever wins gets a prize that we also voted on. I think we decided on like a gift card, and the professor's going to do some sort of embarrassing thing. And if we did that in person, it would be like completely different, because all the students that sent their photos in would be there, and they'd be like, yeah, like, you know, they'd be there to celebrate, and we'd all be laughing together. And another part of the course, like, she was talking about how some transport protein works in the cell membrane, and she wanted to like use her body to explain it, and use her hands to explain it in like a simple way, but you couldn't really do it over the online, like the pre-recorded video format that we had. So she was like, oh dang, like it would be easier for you to understand this if I could see you in person. That's just another example. But that's one thing. But the most significant hit, I think, to the whole like education experience in the biological sciences has been missing the labs, because I didn't get to practice fluoral microscopy, sterile technique, although I've done a little bit by myself just at my own house, but I don't think any other, like the majority of students wouldn't have done that. And I didn't get to practice genome sequencing, gene editing, doing CRISPR, doing plasmid, library plasmid isolation or whatever. I didn't get to practice so many different things. So like I said, I'll catch up. There's definitely going to be, like, once we get back to school, you know, labs that they hold that aren't for, they don't have to have reports. They're for credit, but you don't have to do like lab reports because I've already done them.
Yeah.
Because they have online labs, but it's not the same, obviously. So that's like been the biggest thing. What about you?
Quinn?
I think that my experience has been odd, and I think that, first of all, I think your daughter's lucky.
To have me as a dad, you mean?
Oh yeah, that of course, that's a given, Kevin. Come on, you know that. But I think that she's lucky in the sense that she's in grade 9, and because she's in grade 9, she's not missing out on something that's going to affect, if she would like to take the post-secondary route, she's not missing out on something that's going to affect that too dramatically, because she's still in grade 9. So she has time to figure things out, time to learn things, time to develop interests and skills and hobbies and all these different types of good stuff. And for kids who are like in grade 12 and grade 11 right now, they're taking a hit. I have a younger twin brothers who are in grade 11 right now, and I feel horrible for them because they are not learning a thing, and that on a regular circumstance is already bad, but they're not learning like their math course. They don't know anything about what's going on in their math course. So if they want to do anything that involves math, when they get to grade 12, they will be lost, and they will not be able to handle it at all. So I feel bad for them in that context. Whereas for your daughter, if your daughter missed out on conceiving like important ideas about math, you can regain that in grade 10 and bounce back by the time you get to grade 12. I don't think that's an issue. But if you're in grade 11 already or grade 12 already, and now your experience of learning some like relatively important concepts is just out the door. And that's unfortunate in my opinion.
Oh, come on, Quinn. They got you to look after them. You could teach them all of grade 11 math in an afternoon.
Well, you failed it, did you?
Kevin, don't reveal this, dude.
Yeah. I fudged my report to get into university.
I mean, I tried, Jonathan. I tried teaching one of my brothers. He was doing chemistry, and because the only reason I said that I know that they're getting like this bad experience was because I've seen them do work while I'm at home, and I'll look at their work, right? And I'll be like, oh, like, what are you guys doing? Because I'm interested in this. And I know my brothers aren't going to take a science route like I did. And that's completely fine. It's quite expected, actually. But I'm still interested to see what they're doing because I've done it all before. And looking at my brother's chemistry stuff, I was like, this is significantly easier than when I did it, when I was in his grade. And he still doesn't know how to do it.
Yeah, but would you say that maybe it's significantly easier than when you were in school because you already know it, maybe?
No, this was definitely significantly easier than when I was his age doing the content.
Interesting.
I was like, because he's doing the course and I'm looking at this stuff like, no, when I was in that grade, I was doing these like type of problems, and these are like a year earlier level problems. And that's kind of concerning on its own. But what was more concerning was that he didn't know a thing about what was going on with it. So I tried to explain it to him, and this is what I was getting at, Jonathan. So I tried explaining some chemistry stuff to my brother.
Yeah.
And so I'm going over this stuff, as you can imagine, like actually trying to teach him how this stuff goes. And he's like, Quinn, man, I appreciate that you're trying to teach me, because you're actually trying to teach me and it actually like makes sense, but this takes way too long. I just want to submit this test so that I can get this over with and get my mark and leave. Like, Quinn, why are you taking the time to explain this stuff to me? I don't care. I just want a mark.
Yeah, do the quiz for me, and then you can show me later how it works.
Quinn, just don't tell me how it works, man. Just what do I write down?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably what he was looking for. No, I know it's like my daughter was, well, she was in grade like, I don't know, 4, 5, and they were starting math and stuff. And she'd come home and she'd say, okay, I have to do this for homework. And she'd show me the thing. And I'd be like, okay, well, that's easy. You do this, then you do this. And, no, Daddy, you have to do it this way. And I'd be like, what the hell are they teaching this kid? You start from over here, then you go back over where the decimal is, and then you come back. And I'm like, no, you don't. And then in the end, I just said, like, get a calculator. So, you know.
Calculator's my best friend.
Yeah, well, you got to learn how to use those as well. So let me ask you, Jonathan, first.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to become when you graduate from university?
I haven't decided which field of biology I want to focus in yet.
Okay.
I might want to do genetic engineering that has to do with human pathogens.
Very nice.
Or I might want to do marine biology. I might do something completely different. Probably not, but I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, I haven't really decided yet. I might do mycology because there's a future in that. I recently learned that certain mushrooms can be used to produce like biomolecules that target bacterial infections, but they're not antibiotics, so they don't contribute to the antibiotic resistance problem that we're having right now. But anyway, and they can also be used to like filter water from polluted areas and whatnot. There's lots of different uses that are coming up in the future.
Mushrooms?
Yep, mushrooms. Yeah. And some of them can be used to potentially help certain neurological disorders and like induce like brain cell growth and different stuff like that. So and some substances that are like psilocybin, for example.
Who?
Which is psilocybin is
Oh.
the active ingredient in magic mushrooms.
Never heard of them.
Magic mushrooms?
I'm kidding.
Okay, I know, but you're deadpan. You're was so good. You had me convinced for a second.
I've never ever tried them. Honestly, I've never done any drugs, like recreational drugs.
Admirable. There's definitely some pressure.
I don't even drink, so you know, whatever.
Definitely
but
admirable.
Well, it's just it's a personal choice. There's no specific reason behind it. It's just I've never really had an interest in it. So.
Okay.
Plus, I could always make a few bucks driving my buddies home too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, just saying. But yeah, magic mushrooms. We used to, in the high school that I went to in England. There was they called it the biology pond, I think it was, behind the school, and it was basically an overrun swimming pool, but it had taken on its own. What's the word I'm looking for?
Ecosystem?
Yes, thank you. It had become its own ecosystem, and around it there were magic mushrooms growing.
Nice.
So you could always tell who went up to the biology pond at lunch, after lunch, because they, something like that. So yeah,
Well, anyway, I
but
was going to say
that's
that
fascinating.
it's being looked at as a treatment for treatment-resistant depression and anxiety, and it has like very compelling results. And as a treatment for addiction, I think it's very successful in helping with smoking. People quit smoking.
Quit smoking, but take magic mushrooms.
Well, you only in the studies, I'm pretty sure they only did it either 1 or 2 doses.
Yeah.
And it was something like 65% effective. For
2
like
doses, and people quit smoking.
I think that it only like for 12 months later they hadn't smoked.
Wow.
Yeah. Something like that. Feel free to don't quote me, but it's like something in that area. Either I know the bottom line, which was it was very surprising and impressive, the effectiveness of this like cessation therapy.
Well, I'll tell
anyway,
you, we don't edit these, so you're on record. So we will quote you. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well. Yeah.
Now
So I
he's
don't know
panicking.
like I said, I don't know what field I'm going to go into, but I think I want to do something in biology, obviously, but maybe some sort of research scientist that is just like working on new developments in whatever field I choose to focus on. So if that requires me to go to get my master's or PhD or whatever, then I will do that. And I recently discovered that it actually isn't that expensive relative to what you expect to be making after the fact. It's only, at least for Brock, it's only 10,000 to get your master's and 10,000 to get your PhD. Oh wait, no wait. It's 5,000 to get your master's and 5,000 to get your PhD. It's $2,500 a term, 4 terms. Okay, no, it's $20,000 to get your PhD after the undergrad.
Wow.
In total.
Will they take a check?
Which, obviously it is expensive, but it is a very good investment, I think.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Especially if you're able to help people like it sounds like you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to say, it sounds fascinating. It sounds amazing. But what if you were required to take 5,600 embryos to Mars?
Mm-hmm.
It's gone full circle, folks. I would talk you out of it, because imagine if you're there when these embryos become humans, imagine for a moment, if you will, the diaper changes. Don't do it, man. Don't do it.
Johnathan, you're done, bro. You're done.
Stay home. Stay home.
Stay home.
Just say I can't because I've got a bone in my leg and it doesn't work properly for that kind of stuff. So just do that. No,
well,
but that's
I think I might get the chance to learn soon, because my sister, the one that you spoke to, is an expectant mother of some fraternal twins.
Wow. I didn't know that. Get out of here.
Yeah.
She never said, I mean, why would she? But
Yeah.
that's congratulations to her. I hope she's okay with you announcing it.
I am definitely excited to have 2 little miscreants to teach some stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. Congratulations, Uncle. Or are you going to go by Unky?
I don't think I'm going to go by Unky. I think I'm going to let the children come up with their own name.
Yeah.
Yeah, more or less.
Right on. That's awesome. Wow. I'll have to send her an email or a text message and congratulate her. And just for the record, this new flag is courtesy of your sister. So
Looks good.
I love the only thing I don't like is the fact that it looks like I've got horns.
What?
when I'm sitting like
It's a
this.
crown, Kevin. It's a crown.
Yeah, I was thinking if I go like if I crouch a bit, maybe.
Definitely a crown.
Right? But then
Definitely.
but if I sit up, it's like so yeah. But that's fantastic news. You're gonna love it. Kids are amazing. They really are. Enjoy their free will while they have it. See how it flows into each other? Quinn, what about you? Oh, wait, Jonathan. What made you get into that? What made
Biology?
you choose
Well,
biology?
honestly, it's just that I've just always had this innate fascination with life. Honestly, like from the time I was really young, I would have books on insects, different marine animals, sharks. I knew that sharks had a bad rep, and I was like reading about them. Like some of these sharks are pretty damn cool, and they don't really be hurting anyone. Like look at these statistics. No, but yeah. Honestly, it was just that like my fascination with how many different forms of life there were, and just wondering like what like where did all this life come from, and just wanting to learn more. And then eventually it got to where I am now, I guess, like with the applying learning learning even more about biology and different like lab techniques and new technologies to potentially make a difference and help either discover some new things or just help some other bright minds discover some new things.
That's amazing. Well, I wish you the very best of luck in doing that. And
Thank you.
if you ever have, I don't know, the time, check into mushrooms for the ones that you were saying about for regrowing brain cells, etc. Try to look into that for MS, multiple sclerosis. Yeah, well, I don't know if this is an option. It just came to my mind as you were talking about it. But my wife has MS, and she's had it for a number of years now. And it's basically MS is a it's where the nerves in the brain, which everything in the brain is nerves, I guess, for some degree, but they lose their coding, and that's what makes them not fire properly. So she can go like this today, but if the coding suddenly goes overnight, she'll be like this, and she can't do it. It'll just stop. It can happen at any point. If the myelin, which is the coding on the nerves, it gets to a point where it's no longer there, then the signal can't carry down it. You think of a wire with the plastic coating around it, the insulator, it's kind of like that. So maybe that could be some research.
I literally just learned about action potential like the other day, so I'm just scratching the surface. But eventually, like I want to learn way more about it because it's so like fascinating how I guess our nerves and our brain works. Just like the way that we have just over generations and generations gotten to a point of being able to have a signal be sent so quickly. It's just interesting that
Well, I was watching a documentary, and it's funny you're saying about marine biologists, because they were saying that as human beings developed, we started in Africa. It wasn't Africa at the time. I don't think it was something obviously different, but we started in Africa, and there was a specific tribe of people that moved closer to the ocean and started eating fish. And that's what really gave Homo sapiens a kick mentally, because it helped develop their brains better.
Omega-3.
Yeah. So maybe through being a marine biologist, you can make us all smarter somehow. But you might, you don't want to take away from your I don't want to say exhibits, but your subjects, your patients, I guess. But hey, maybe eating shark is the next thing. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'm gonna say probably not.
Yeah, well,
we probably shouldn't be messing with
any animal.
At this okay, are the humans eating fish?
Are what?
Early humans eating
Yeah.
fish, that's good for us as a species and not necessarily harmful uh, to the ecosystem because we weren't, there weren't 7.8 billion of us. At this point, we're kind of screwing things over for ourselves with our overfishing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, fish get it bad. Fish get it bad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
So
because
you're against me, say, going down to Toronto and going to Ripley's with my pocket fisherman? That would be a bad idea.
pocket fisherman.
You never seen those things?
No.
They were huge in the 70s, and they tried to make a comeback a few years ago. And basically, they're a little plastic fishing rod that folds down to like this big,
Oh, I've seen one.
and the arm comes up to be the rod, and then the pocket thing, like the gears and the reel and everything, is all inside of a case. So
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen one of those. I've seen like an actual fishing rod that's just like I want to say telescopic. I don't think that's the right word, but like it goes into it.
Yeah, no, that's the one. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the pocket fisherman.
Yeah, no, it was certainly not something that fit in your pocket.
Well, neither did this really, but
Oh, okay.
it was pretty bulky. But check it out online, the Pulpeel Pocket Fisherman, and I'll see you at Ripley's. Right. So I'm assuming, therefore, you don't eat meat.
well, that I do not. That's a pretty good assumption. Yeah, I don't.
Good for you. My wife has just started into that diet,
Mm-hmm.
and she says she loves it. But
Good for her.
to,
Hopefully.
to each their own on that one, I guess, right?
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
vegan. You obviously aren't vegan because you.
I
didn't
am vegan.
You are vegan?
Yes.
Oh, you are. Well, go ahead. The floor is yours. All right. Well, again,
Yep.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay, I will say something then.
Yeah.
Anyone watching? If after having a cat for 7 years, once he or she dies of natural causes, you have second thoughts before you think, ah, yes, an animal has just died, let us eat it. If you're one of the people who have second thoughts before, deciding to immediately prepare and consume this cat meat, because one might think, why not? Start to wonder and really contemplate what internally is causing you to think that way, because you have a relationship with this animal. And just because you have a relationship with this animal, does it really mean that, like, objectively speaking, it is any more important or valuable, morally worthy? For what reason would you not say protect a dog from being hurt or abused, but you are perfectly fine with a pig or a cow being abused and killed to consume it? I'm not saying any of the things are wrong. I'm just saying, if there is any sort of confliction internally and you say to yourself, oh, I think that dogs are more important than cows, I think dogs shouldn't be killed because of this, but cows are okay to be killed because of this, just really try to get to the bottom of that. And I think that the majority of people will realize that it's just a human construct, and that both animals are able to feel pain, and you might have second thoughts before hurting them. So that's just all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing those thoughts. Again, I wish you the very best of luck with your education and your career, and I hope you go on to do amazing things.
Thank you very much.
We need more people that are able to do research, because there's a lot of bad shit out there, as Corona proves, right? And the fact that this thing is mutating as quickly as it is, we got to put a stop to it somehow. And
the future of biotechnology is really exciting. The future of all technology is really exciting. Things that probably Quinn and I won't see in our lifetime, or maybe even this next coming generation won't see, but generation after that, or the generation after that, eventually we might have some really, really crazy stuff. Like, we might be able to use computer programs that can do all these billions, trillions, quadrillions, pentillions, sextillions of computations in a nanosecond, because we've just developed to this point, that we can make we can synthesize a blocking protein for any virus instantly once we have its like molecular structure, which it also can get instantly. So maybe in the future we will not have to worry about these things. But as of right now, unfortunately, we do.
Yeah, it's tough times.
Yeah.
Tough times. But again, very best of luck with that. I wish you nothing but success.